Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Next in Media. I'm Mike Shields. I've got multiple guests this week. We've got Josh Stanley and Myra Dallas of the Coaxial Collective and Adam Vandergrift, who is a YouTube creator better known as Haxman. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Hello.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate you, Mike.
I'm gonna jump around a bit, but please feel free to jump in and interject. But I don't. Maybe Myra, we could start with you. Tell us who you are and what this company is about, and then I want to get into the sector a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And first, thanks for having us. So yes, Myra Dallas. I am the CEO and co-founder of Coaxial Collective. We are really into a space. My background is influencer marketing. I had an agency that I ran for over almost a decade, and really identified some gaps in the market that needed to be filled. And so Coaxial is really about how we go to helping our YouTube creators in the various burdensome tasks that they experience, as well as helping them find partnerships, help brands connect with them. It is a niche space, so we are focused in the home improvement, DIY, and professional construction YouTube space right now. Okay, so Myra or Josh, maybe you want to answer this. There have been lots of attempts as the creator marketplace has evolved over the years, like attempts at building the back end organization that they might need, whether that's a straight up ad network to some kind of influencer database to some kind of hybrid production / execution company, let's say. What have you seen over time, and maybe how has that evolved to where you see it opening right now for something new?
Yeah, I could jump in here. Yeah, I would even add MCNs to the mix there too, right? Yep. You've had a number of agencies and, to your point, solutions that are trying to address maybe disparate needs inside of the creator economy, and we're really focused on YouTube. And so when we say creator, we tend to mean YouTube, where there's the whole other side of the influencer marketing with Instagram, TikTok, et cetera. But yeah, I think what's unique about Coaxial is this idea of really putting the creator at the center and asking ourselves, what is it that matters most to them that allows them to reduce pain? Like, what is the job to be done that helps them reduce pain? And we're kind of learning as we go, working with folks like Adam and AKA Haxman, and like seeing where there's gaps in the market around understanding and even just what I say that, I mean like how brands view creators and how creators view brands. There's a lack of like clarity around what each of them care about and what motivates them. And when you get kind of behind both veils and you understand, oh yeah, when you have someone like Myra who's been in influencer marketing and has worked with hundreds of brands and tens of thousands of influencers through Acorn Influence, like she has a depth of understanding of what that world looks like. And she can help translate that to someone like an Adam or our other creators to help them see, like, oh, these are the things that matter to these brands. I think that's been missing. A lot of what we're also adding into the mix, like video editing, optimization, thumbnail optimization, et cetera, like all these services aren't, we're not creating anything brand new out of thin air here. Like this has been done before in some form or fashion, but I think it hasn't been done with the right intent. And that is putting creators at the center. And yes, also saying, how can we service brands in the right way with the right understanding of their needs?
All right. So Adam, let's bring you into the conversation. Give people a little bit of your history as a creator, and then maybe like when did you first start working with brands, and where have you felt the pain that maybe you needed to get more organized, get some help in this space?
So I've been doing YouTube now for 10 years this year, actually, over multiple different channels that we've had over the years. And I would, probably about 8 years ago is when we first started interacting with brands.
And I'm sorry, give people a gist of your channel and what you're about before we got there. Probably I should have asked that.
Okay, so my channel now, which was started, I think I actually started this channel 5 years ago. So it's kind of a DIY project channel, home projects. I kind of take an angle at it instead of it being a straight up educational. I try to, I try to be funny. I don't know that I always achieve that, but I try to look at it as edutainment. I want people to come because they want to be entertained, number one. And then if I can offer some advice or give tips, if they can learn something from it, that's a side benefit.
All right.
So that's
and then,
how
sorry,
I approach it.
Gotcha. And then you said you started working with brands like pretty early on, but I'm sure that's evolved quite a bit over the years. What has that been like?
Oh yeah. So as every creator finds, the first brands that you work with are the probably like Amazon sellers who just want to send you free products, and when you're a small channel, wow, you're excited because you got this free battery or whatever, and you end up actually getting taken advantage of in some cases. And, for most creators, you really have no idea where you should be. You don't know what the value is.
You don't know,
of the
a rate card,
advertising,
right? You don't know what your prices should be or shouldn't be.
Yeah. So you're just, and especially if you're new, you're just like, wow, this is amazing. And a lot of times it can actually hurt your channel because you're just like, well, I can get this. That's cool. I'll do a video about that. And I see a lot of people do this where they don't understand that. And I can see on their channel, and it's like, that video, you did that because you got that product, and it has nothing to do with your audience really. And it actually ends up hurting the channel. And so we worked with a few. We actually had a kids channel to begin with, and we worked with like Elmer's Glue. That was a pretty big deal that we did. That was my biggest deal that I ever did years ago. Like I said, that one was probably about 6 years ago, actually, just before I started this channel. And then once I started this channel, you kind of start the whole process over again because it's a new channel.
Yep.
You're going through all the same motions again, but you don't, as a creator, you just don't have those connections, to the people you really need to find.
I hope someone calls me. Do you start calling up all these big agencies, brands, and who do I get in touch with, or what does it look like for you?
Yeah. So I would get some offers from some fairly big brands every now and then, or from agents. And a lot of those, honestly, are lowball offers. And I would try to reach out to some of the bigger brands, but, just cold calling or whatever, those brands usually falls on deaf ears. You generally don't even get a response back from that. So it's pretty difficult. At least it was for me to navigate as just a creator. That's not what I do, and that's one thing that working with Coaxial, they've educated me on a lot of this stuff. That's, it's kind of blown my mind as they explain this stuff.
Right.
And a lot of it's actually encouraging. I'll talk with Myra and I'll say, well, she'll explain these stats. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even know that. That's encouraging for me,
So Myra, Josh, anybody who wants to jump in here, but where it's surprising me. I can understand the needs in the market, certainly, but I guess I would be a little surprised that you still find this lack of understanding of the mindset of both parties. Because you'd think by now brands would be there, and the companies this would be so established. But I guess it's ever evolving, and the role of creators, call them influencers, creators, where they fit is probably always changing too. So what are the big things that both sides miss here?
Yeah. I'll jump in, and then Josh, please feel free. But I mean, Michael, if you think about, yes, should we be further along? Potentially, but in reality, 2016 was really about the time that influencer marketing became to be accepted by brands, right? So, and if you think about that, we're not even a decade into the space, and
that's true.
So the opportunity for this to continue to evolve. And, 2 years later, the creator economy became, in 2018 was really when it started to be evolving and accepted. And it was broader than just, Facebook and Meta and, owned properties. So YouTube has been around for a very long time, but as the accepted, channels and spaces, people are still operating under, brands are still operating under the traditional marketing, terminology and metrics. Some of them have continued to push forward in accepting the digital, in attribution metrics. Some have not. Similarly, you think about, the creators, their content, while they're evolving and they understand, and Adam certainly understands so much, there's nuances to this space. And having been on both sides, we believe we are able to bridge that gap, and will continue to bridge that gap, helping everybody understand and levelize and normalize what we're talking about from a metrics, the authentic, voice, and really that it's not just a transactional, but it is a relationship based consideration. Those are things that, while we all think, we can snap our fingers and be in on all level, we're certainly not yet. And I think that it's going to continue to be, advocacy for for our creators and relationship-based explanations that will get us there.
Yeah, I would add, like, YouTube is lagging to Instagram and TikTok and influencer marketing. Like, it just lags, like, period.
See, that would surprise me because why? Because YouTube is supposedly they're the guys that still pay, and they have you're seeing them encroach on television, but in terms of influencer marketing, they're behind the other guys.
Yeah, they're behind because they don't have that same performance marketing strength that Instagram and TikTok has, right? I can be on my phone, I can see a 30-second something sponsored by an influencer, click a button, and then boom, I'm transacting. That isn't what YouTube is. And I think as there's multiple tailwinds happening right now, and you just hit it a minute ago with a brief statement of, yeah, the Gauge report coming out back in May and saying that YouTube is now the number one way content's consumed on connected TVs and living rooms was a big deal. Even though brands had seen it coming, it's not like it went from last to first overnight. But the fact that it is now number one, the fact that it does continue to grow in share, viewership share, every report. And now you almost have that at the same time, this like the Nike backlash, we can't just pour everything we have into performance marketing. Reach and awareness does matter from a marketing standpoint. So I think it's like this convergence of all these tailwinds kind of pointing people at YouTube now and realizing, yeah, you can have conversion on YouTube. And more importantly, you're not going to create a relationship with a viewer in 30 seconds. Long form content, like what you do with this channel, like how your personality comes out with your content, how Adam presents his whole self, his whole authentic self in his content, his entertaining side, his charismatic side, and our other creators do similar things. Like that's where trust is built. That's where parasocial relationships are formed, where as a viewer or listener, I become connected with, like I've consumed a lot of Adam's content before we ever talked on the phone. And I felt like I knew him when we first chatted. Like, dude, I know
that's not the same as a bunch of 30-second executions with influencers that might sell stuff temporarily, but don't build anything.
Exactly. You can't build a brand there. Like you maybe have done this. I know I've done this. I bought a vest from some random brand, or my wife buys random stuff on Instagram, but I will never buy from that brand again. Like there's no loyalty. There's 100% churn happening. Versus like when someone I trust, whether it's in YouTube or podcast format, I think long form is where this happens. Like when someone I trust recommends something, like I consider it and I think about it. And when I buy it, I'm like, they like this and this is what they said they like about it. What do I like about it? There's like an introspection happening that just doesn't exist in these like fast hit, 30-second videos that make me want to buy something right now.
Adam, have you been you've been on YouTube for a while. Have you been tempted or feeling pressure to do I got to be on every single platform and do every sort of 30-second hit kind of thing? And then I'm also curious if things have changed with YouTube on TV becoming a bigger play.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I've thought about over the years because obviously tons of people have a lot of success on the short form content, but it is such a different strategy in the way you approach it in every way, the way you edit it, everything. And it's just too much. I'm a one-man show. So it's just been too much for me to wrap my head around. I love YouTube. Now, YouTube obviously has their shorts now, but the long form content, like y'all were speaking about, you can't connect any better than you can. YouTube allows you better than any other platform for long form to connect with the viewers on like an emotional level where they hopefully will care about you. Not just, just blindly scrolling and, well, okay, so I'm subscribed to this person, so YouTube will show me their videos all the time. They want to come back and see you so you can have that connection. So hopefully, the theory would be that that would add more weight for an advertiser with the channel because it's not just, oh, and by the way, here's this random thing I'm putting in here. It means something because hopefully it's kind of like your friend promoting it or telling you something they would recommend.
Has it changed this? Because I imagine you are this category that it lends itself to a lot of people doing like service content. How do I fix my dishwasher right now versus the entertaining stuff you're talking about? Has that changed your approach that people are doing longer sessions and watching on a big screen, or is your mix maybe different than a typical creator if there is one?
No, it's definitely my videos used to be around 10 to 15 minutes long. Now I try to keep them and not drag them out. I still try to keep them entertaining, but I just try to do more in the video. I try to have like around a 22 minute long video now, because I think 54% of my viewers are actually watching on TV.
Interesting.
So mine has moved to mostly TV, and that kind of changes your approach to how you do your titles and how you do your thumbnails. It used to be everything you did. And I still think about this, you know, you want to make it really small and see how does that look and everything. And even when you're filming, you know, if everything's a wide shot and somebody's watching it on their phone, everything's tiny. They can't see what's going on. So knowing that it's, you know, most of the audience is on TV now, it does absolutely influence the way you think about every aspect of it.
Why, for the Coaxial folks, why focus on this category? Is it just, is this underserved? Do you feel like, you know, this is just, you want to start here and expand beyond? Like, what's the thinking behind this home improvement / work kind of category, I guess?
Yeah, Josh, do you want to take that, or you want me to?
Yeah, I could jump in. I mean, it's a top, if you go look at the top 100 creator brands, so if you go look at the creators that have had success launching their own brands, which is a bit of a deviation from what we've been talking about.
You mean like a Feastables or a candy brand or whatever, stuff like that? Yeah.
Outlier being Feastables, right? Like someone who's, you know, did 250 million at Walmart last year, who doesn't know, who didn't know anything about confectionaries and had no right to win in confectionery.
Right. Maybe, what's Mr. Beast probably his own universe. We probably should.
He is his own universe, but there's a top 100 list out there of creator brands, like creator launch brands, and like where they, among the top categories is actually home and garden and food and beverage. And
interesting.
We really like the analogy of looking at YouTube as a replacement for mass media conglomerates. So thinking about it like this, like, okay, Food Network. We talked to Food Network, analogy like creators. And let's just assume we talked to some other categories like that. When we reached the HGTV analogy, when we started talking to people like Adam, I will say this, the down-to-earth nature, the humbleness, the thing we call our secret sauce is really focusing in on people who are good at creating an emotional connection, people who again, express themselves authentically through their videos. Like, we're not talking about channels where you're just like watching somebody build something for an hour and a half. Right. And you never really hear the person talk. Or maybe if they do, they're just describing what they're doing. It's like, that's not it. That's not what connects. You don't connect with that. You may find that entertaining, or it may have some like ASMR kind of, you know, effect for you, but like, you're not connecting with the content. So we focus on that, and just it felt like the perfect space. All the creators we were talking to had a different approach. They were easier to work with. And that really helped sink this in for us of like, hey, the data's pointing in this direction. And so are the creators themselves. They're easier to work with. That mattered to us. And if we're going to create a collective of, similar types, we might expand. Myra's already thinking about expanding out into auto, or what we keep calling Rinse and Grease, or even outdoor rec, like where there's adjacent audiences. It's relatively speaking the same demographic, and in some ways, there's some crossover in psychographic, but allows you to truly expand audience. Like, it's not the same viewer. There are viewers that watch Adam that also watch other creators in our network. Sure. So with that in mind, like, how do you expand your total size, your total audience? Like, you might have to look at these adjacent audiences or adjacent categories, really. So all of that's up in the air, and we will get there over time. But yeah, starting with this HGTV like approach just clicked on all cylinders, and the data's there. And I think it's fascinating to even just think about channels like this grouping of channels that have existed for decades, and seeing how YouTube creators have reinvented those worlds. Like, there isn't anybody like Fixer Upper on YouTube. Nobody does that format. I think that's actually a good thing. I think the way Adam approaches what he does and the way other creators we have approach their own way of creating content is so unique and different and so niche. It's like, it's a better way to think about home and garden or home improvement. Or
thematically they're sisters, but their formats really are made for the platform in a way that makes sense. Yes. And you can, you learn. And I love the way Adam talked about this, education meets entertainment. Like, it's escapism with
I'm picking up little nuggets of knowledge along the way. Like as Adam's building something and he's done woodworking for 20 years, he's doing something and he's sharing some quick little tip that probably for him is like, yeah, I've been doing that for the last 2 decades of my life. But for me, I'm like, oh, that's why that thing exists on that tool. And I never knew that. And I had that tool in my garage. Like those little moments are fun. It's like discovery too, along the way. Watching somebody who's talented, who understands how to building something in an entertaining way, like hits you on like multiple ways. It gives value to you in multiple ways. It's really fun.
Well, you know what's funny? If I just real quick,
please.
It's funny to me. People will watch a boring TV show and they'll watch it. They'll watch the whole thing and they'll get done with it and they'll, talk to their spouse or whatever, how boring that was, or a movie or whatever. But not on YouTube. You cannot be boring, because
people's standards are different.
Yeah, there's a million channels and they'll flip and they're looking at their phone while they're watching your show, So there is no room for boring at all, or you'll fail.
Right. So that affects how you shoot things, I'm sure, and how you try and grab people.
Always thinking about that.
What's over? You've seen the models come and go in the space over time, and Google's role has been interesting over the years, where they were very active with the creator brand deals, maybe less so. Where are things now? Like, do you interact with them a whole lot? Or they let you do your thing? Do they need to play a different role?
Yeah. So currently, and Adam, you can jump in here too a little bit and comment, but to your point, Michael, they have tried to take on different roles, and you can see, all the way from Google Plus way back in the day, and that, their attempt failed. Their attempt to do that when they acquired FamBit in 2016.
Yeah.
They've sunsetted that, and really changed a lot. Nothing seems to have really caught on and worked, and for probably a variety of different reasons. And I think now, right, Adam, and you can weigh in here, they have a new approach, if you will, that I think is maybe working. We don't interact with them. I certainly don't from a coaxial perspective. And Adam, I don't know what your take is on interactions.
No, I've never had any interaction with it. I mean, I can go check the stats and everything, and they will provide, I guess, where you can kind of have a stack to provide potential advertisers or to connect. But I've never found it useful, honestly.
Interesting.
I think, yeah, and I'll just add on really quickly. I think that is one of the things Adam and I have talked about, is our perspective and our ability to help understand the stats, and that is something that probably we love. We understand it because of our relationships and expertise, but I don't know that the platform is helping.
Right, because otherwise you're on your own, it sounds like. Adam, quickly, what is you talked about how you didn't in the beginning, you didn't know what you were doing with brands, you don't know what to ask for. There might be might not be a standard answer, but what's a good brand deal these days? What's a good brand interaction for you?
You mean as far as what they ask of me and how they want to be?
Yeah, like what's success, if there is a formula?
So there's still some brands that, they want to look at it as more of a TV commercial. They want you to say these 50 things and get that in 30 seconds. I love working with some of these brands where they have maybe 3 things. They want a 45 second to 60 second integration, and they have maybe 3 specific things that are facts that they want said, and the rest, they just want it to be natural. And, they want to be a company that you actually interact with. For instance, one that I work with several times is Element. So I use Element. It's a drink that I like. I used it before. I dealt with them, and they're super easy to work with as far as I just say how I feel about using this product.
They get it. And they get what you're trying to do. And let you
exactly. Yes, they understand that if they want to connect with the viewer, let the creator have freedom to make this personal and realistic, and not just spit out a bunch of jargon there.
This is kind of for anybody who wants to jump in. What's missing? What moves this forward? You talked about how we made a lot of progress, but there's still some gaps. Is it the way that the brands are organized? Do we need better measurement? Do you need things, execution? Like what moves the spending in this category a little faster?
Yeah. I think, go ahead, Josh.
Cool. I was going to say, I have one that I've been noodling on and that we talked to Adam about a lot, or a reasonable amount at least. Channel partnerships. Like I think channel partnerships, when it's an endemic brand, like an endemic brand in home improvement, is pretty easy to pick out, right? Like, Little Giant ladders, right? Adam uses a lot of ladders. Like, Little Giant should be a channel sponsor to Adam. And they need to be authentic. Like, Adam needs to actually like the product, and that there needs to be just like with Element, like he was using it beforehand, but like choosing brands that make sense for the work and the content that he's creating, that have a natural alignment. And it's like, you can be a channel partner, a sponsor, not just doing mid-rolls where Adam talks about your product for 60 seconds in the middle of the video, but actually like, this product shows up in every video, and you're just sponsoring like, hey, if you're going to have ladders in your video, I want to make sure it's always this ladder. And that is typically a paid engagement as well, to be like kind of the main product for this kind of content throughout the year. But that's a stronger way to show up if you're a brand than it, in our opinion, in a lot of ways. Not to say that mid-rolls don't have a place, they do, but there is a real, when the perfect worlds collide, when it's like, hey, the kind of content you create and the types of tools you use, or the types of resources you use, whatever it might be, make it very natural for our product to show up over and over again. Brands need to be thinking about channel sponsorships, channel partnerships like that, as opposed to just pure, let me pay you X amount of dollars to do another 60 to 90 second mid-roll.
And I'll just add on to that really quickly, because that's spot on, Josh. And I think it is helping everyone understand, brands specifically, the authenticity that matters, right? So, and to Adam and his audience, if it was not authentic, that we would get backlash. So helping the brands understand that the creators are professionals, that they have earned the right to use their authentic voice to communicate, the values of the product, and not in a scripted way, I think is important. And I think we still have a long way to go with that, and helping everyone understand that there is this perfect opportunity, but it needs to be unique and authentic in how we're talking about it, or you will just be, another paid sponsorship. And that doesn't necessarily move the needle on either side, right? From a creator perspective or a brand. And then finally, I think it is helping understand and normalize how we view success in a true partnership and not transactional perspective. It is a journey. They call it the consumer journey for a reason. So I think we need to be taking into consideration as we measure success with a journey in mind.
I guess last question, and this is sort of related, and anybody can jump in, but is it good or bad, with the YouTube TV growth, you got TV advertisers coming in and giving this area a look, which is seemingly a good thing, more money, but then they're comparing you, or they want you to fit into like a TV bucket and then similar numbers. Is that a good or bad thing or challenge for your category here?
Hey, Michael, I'll jump in. I'll mention a couple of things here in case it's helpful. So I think it actually is the best of both worlds. So I think in many ways you can and should, and you guys have touched on it, start thinking of YouTube as TV. But it has the best of social as well. So the best of social is the fact that you can truly build this relationship, and you can do so in a long form format, the way Josh has stated. What it will do as more TV, more traditional, more sophisticated media buyers and planners are frankly doubling down on YouTube, you're going to start seeing them not only deploy more capital to the space, but you're going to start seeing them embrace social practices of everything Adam has stated. Hey, we want it to be real and authentic to you, not just a 30-second ad. But we also want to figure out how to do this in a long-term way, because a one-off spot is not necessarily going to do the brand lift that being a partner to you for a year will do. Like, those things will matter. I think vertically focused groups like Coaxial will be incredibly important. I think it's one of the things the space frankly needs. It's one of the reasons I think what Myra, Josh, and Adam are doing is frankly very exciting. They're going to be able to get more research about this DIY professional home construction space. They're going to have more benchmarks to that space than other people will, versus trying to be everything to everybody. They will have more depth in a category than absolutely anyone. So if you're a Home Depot, Lowe's, or any endemic brand or non-endemic, frankly, in the space, looking to reach this audience, there really should be nobody else you look at because they're going to have more depth in that one category than anyone else will.
All right. Well, fascinating stuff. Thank you. Very, very timely conversation. Thanks so much for all your insights and sharing some time here. And let's chat again down the road, folks.
Absolutely. Thanks
for having me.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Take care.